Creating clouds in the background of your drawings could really add a whole nother level of atmosphere to your artwork. But I feel like drawing clouds could be a little daunting, especially if you're a beginner and you don't know where to start. Even I had a little bit of a hard time figuring them out when I first started including them in my drawings and stuff. And I'll show you some of my old drawings with my really badly done clouds at the end of the tutorial. Luckily, I found a super simple and easy to follow routine on how to draw some really pretty, fluffy, fantasy-like clouds. They kind of have like a little bit of a bubble look to them, which I think works really well for fantasy kind of atmospheres. So keep watching to learn how to do those. So the first part is to choose a toned paper. I always use toned paper because I feel like it helps me choose colors better, and it's really fun to put white highlights on top of toned paper. They just show up so much better. So today I'm using a gray paper, and I also keep a little piece on the side to test out my colors and make sure I like them before I actually apply them to my artwork. And then I go in with some mid-tones. I'm using these Faber-Castell gray toned colored pencils. I always start with a mid-tone and then go in with the highlights and darker tones afterwards. So first I start creating the shapes, which is just little half circles or the letter C, and then I fill that from top to bottom and fade it out towards the bottom. And I'll just keep adding these kind of bunched together, but also leaving some a little separated from each other. And here's what I mean by separating a couple of the shapes. I'm trying to add another cloud in front of the first shape that I just did. For the highlights of the clouds, I'm going in with a white Prismacolor pencil. Prismacolor is wax-based, so it actually shows up pretty well. It's really nice and opaque. So I'll just go over the shapes that I already did, but kind of a little bit lighter, not filling in the whole shape, just adding a little touch of white on the very top of the clouds. Now I'm going in with a darker shade. This is darker than the mid-tone I started with, and I'll just start adding that to the bottom of the shapes and kind of in between, and this will create a lot of depth and start making the clouds pop out a lot more. Once I've established those three tones, I just go in and repeat the steps, just adding more highlights, more mid-tones, and more darker tones, just pulling it all together until I'm satisfied with the amount of depth that I have achieved. to soften things up even more, I'll go in with a Prismacolor colorless blender, and this really helps diffuse those harsh edges and anywhere where you need to blend the colors a little bit more. You can either stop there or you can go in with a few more colors just to add a little bit more life to your clouds. I personally love using pinks and peaches or blues, but you can use any color to create any vibe you want with your clouds. And here's how they look when they're all done. My boyfriend says they look like grapes, so that's cool, I guess. But as you can see here, I did a few more examples with some other colors just to show what you can achieve with the same steps. So I did a peachy sunset kind of look, and then I also did a green stormy kind of look. As promised, here are some examples of my very badly done clouds. This is when I first started trying to learn how to draw clouds, and as you can see, they are flat and boxy. They only have one color. They just don't look dimensional at all. And then I started trying to experiment with more colors and more dimension. And then I actually started changing the shape to a more bubbly looking shape. And I decided I really liked that, so I kept going with it, and this is how my clouds look now whenever I decide to add them in my artwork. And they're so pretty! So those are generally the steps I follow when I want to add fantasy clouds in the backgrounds of my drawings. So I hope you have fun practicing your fantasy clouds, and if you found my video helpful, make sure to subscribe for more tutorials just like this.